All right, hi guys. So we are going to start a new series on MLOps. I hope it is going to be an exciting journey for us, right? Where we will learn about the machine learning and the related operations. Okay. See, we also call it AI ops, MLOps, right? So we just try to understand how it works, okay, and what is the requirement of MLOps in current like whatever the cutting edge technologies are there, how machine learning is growing, data science is growing, AI, generative AI, so many things came up, right? So, but there is something, when you create something, okay, it's not like that you create to keep into your system, right? If you create something, why we create a machine learning model? We create a machine learning model so that we can go for the deployment part. Okay, we always want that it should be deployed somewhere. Okay, it should come into the production level use cases. Okay, so for those cases we required what? MLOps, right? So let's see how it is being used. Okay, so I just put down some few points over here. MLOps, machine learning plus operations. Okay, here we basically go with the three things. Okay, you can see over here we just go for the deployment manage and management. Okay, so when we go for the deployment, the first thing that we work in is automation. Okay, automation is like where if a process or a tools or kind of any kind of a script changes we are basically making, any data changes we are making, right? So you want that script, that data change or anything, any process that we change, that should be automatically integrated with the currently running application. Okay, that is called CI/CD, continuous integration and continuous deployment, that can be automatically update my application which is in public use case, right, without any problem, right? So that is called automation. Then we have a agility. Agility is what, like the ability to quickly and efficiently adapt the changes. Okay, whatever the changes that we are making, that should be quickly. Okay, it's not like that you made the changes and it is taking 2 hours, 3 hours and 24 hours to be updated at the end for the end user. No, for the end user, new version should be quickly updated so that it can be swiftly came into the use case. Then we have a collaboration. See, on a project, always multiple people used to work together. Okay, there is a team used to work together. So always we want there should be a seamless communication between all the team members. Okay, the seamless communication. It's not like that they are talking to each other. Like whatever the development they are basically making. Okay, so that development, okay, should be communicated with each other. Okay, so that there can be a shared platform which can let them track the experiment. Others, like I did some experiment, others would be capable of tracking my FSA experiment, so accordingly they can make the changes, share the results, manage the model. So these can be done properly. So when we work on these three things, automating, uh, agility, and then collaboration, okay, that is called machine learning. That means we are working on a machine learning model to put into the operations. Okay, so there are certain stages over here. Before I will come to a stage, let me tell you, DevOps is something which is a prerequisite for MLOps, but we need not to worry about it because we are going to cover the DevOps concepts as well in this whole journey, right? So stage of MLOps, we have four stages. First, data collection and preparation. We have to collect the data for a particular use case and we have to prepare a data which involves ingestion, preparation, exploration, all sort of EDA and all sort of data cleaning and all. Then we go for model development, like any machine learning model we develop, classification, regression, or clustering, association rule mining, whatever. Then we go for the machine learning service deployment, where we will create some front end, okay, some integrating with existing applications, some API, some ML model endpoint, so that our model came for the production level use cases. Then continuous feedback and monitoring is required so that if there is any bug, any error, that can be corrected. We have to learn few tools, okay, like Git, MLflow, Jenkins, Grafana Cloud, AWS, Azure. So these kind of things are there which will be used for our project development. We will start with the Git. Now, what is Git? Many of you must have heard about GitHub. Many of you must have the account on the GitHub. If you don't have the account on GitHub, I strongly recommend to have one account on the GitHub. Let me tell you, we'll see how GitHub can be used or how Git is used. First of all, what is Git? Git is basically an open source thing. Open source, that means we don't require any licensing to use it. Second, it is used for distributed version control. Okay, distributed version control system. That means version control system means what? It's like when you use any application, we in every 1 or 2 months there used to be a new update comes into the application. Okay, for any OS also there used to be new updates came. right? So that is what a new version used to come. Okay, a new version used to launch with time to time for any application, for anything that we use in terms of software. Okay, so whatever that was earlier, they that we can call it as a previous version, current version, upcoming version. Okay, this is how things work. Okay, so same way when we create a machine learning model or when we deploy it for end user, so there is a, there used to be some versions that needs to be managed. Suppose I released a new version with more accuracy. Okay, my new machine learning model is more accurate than the previous one. So what I do, I have to release it. So I release it, but what happened? There may be some bugs. The bugs that I have not noticed. But when user is using it, the bugs they had noticed. They are feeling the experience was not good. So what I need to do? I need to discontinue the current version, and again I need to roll back the previous version, so that meanwhile I'm making the changes, meanwhile I'll correct the things, user can use the previous version properly without any problem, right? So that's why version management is also required. So maintaining the version, okay, or distributed version control system, like for it's kind of a, we have a different kinds of a version for, like, suppose there is a guy who is working on front end, there is a guy who is working on back end, there is a guy who is working on something else, like just joining everything together, okay, managing everything together. So that's why that is called distributed version. That means this the word, like for example, let me just try to tell you over here like this. Let's see, we have a project over here, right? On this project we have two branches, all right? So two branches means what? We have one branch for front end, one branch for back end guy, okay, front end, okay, and one is for back end. Okay, now it's like backend guy is basically working, okay, and continuously creates is on version 3 of its development phase. Okay, like he is working on version 3. Something is created version 1, some more upgrades came. Okay, he deploys some more upgrades, version 2 is created, then version 3 is created. Front end is what? Front end is also working. Okay, so suppose version front end person is only on version 2. Okay, so it is what? It is distributed version control. Okay, on the same project there are two different branches, and two different branches are having two different versions. Okay, like for the front end only two versions came as of now, for back end three versions came, but we can join them together to create a, like kind of a, that is called merging together. We merge them together to create a single or you can say to deploy it for a single project. Okay, that is how actually things work over here, right? So allows you to record changes to files over a period. Over a period, whatever the changes that you are making into the files, that will be recorded. Git is used to maintain historical and current version of the source data. All right, so these all things we are going to see how it happens. Now, what are the uses? Okay, I'll just tell you the uses at very high level. It's like, developers have a copy of all the version of the code stored in the central server. Okay, so that at the central server all the copy of the codes, whatever the code that is being developed till now, developers will have all those things maintained by the Git. Okay, rollback, restore changes, these all things that I explained will be done through GitHub or through Git. Okay, what are the roles of Git in MLOps? First, version control. Second, setting up the collaboration and team workflow. Third, tracking the experiment. Fourth, branching and experimentation. Branching is very important because on a project there are different guys working on different use cases to meet a different target. Okay, it's not like that. Okay, backend is going on. Everyone is working on backend. No, a few people working on backend, few people working on front end, few people working on merging, few people working on testing, few people working on kind of a data collection, data updates, data pre-processing, right? Few people working on algorithms, right? So it's a different kinds of things are there. So branching is very important so that different person can work when on different sets of to meet the different target, right? Then after continuous integration and CD, that is continuous deployment is required. It automates the testing and deployment of the code changes. Infrastructure as a code management and provisions infrastructure through code. What it means, like we are going to use cloud. Okay, Git we can use through local system as well as through cloud. So basically we are going to use some infrastructure as code over here. Okay, thereafter collaboration across teams is possible. Artifact management, like model file that we create or data file that we create, all the artifacts that we have can be managed easily through Git, right? Auditability and compliance compliance is there. whatever the changes that we made in history, okay, then those changes, or if there is any compliance required, some audits required, okay, so those all changes will be maintained, okay, a detailed history of all the changes will be maintained, all the compliance will be maintained through what? Through the Git. Okay, so these are the use cases of the Git. Now we will see how it can be used and how to basically kind of work on a version control systems of Git. Okay, so now we're going to see it through practical hands-on. All right. Okay, so before we go ahead, let's see if I have a Python script. Let's say I'll write a Python script. Okay, my demo Python script. Okay, so why am I telling you this thing? Because I just want to tell you one very important step over here, right? So what is that? How can we trigger? Okay, hello world from Python. How can we trigger a Python script from our command prompt or terminal? Okay, so many of you may be knowing it, but yeah, it is required because later on we are going to use a terminal a lot. That's why knowledge of this thing is required. So first I just create a file over here. I'll save it, right? I can save it here. I can just save it at a particular location in my system. Let me define the location, right? And that is a directory in which all my projects are going to be saved. Okay, I'll save all the projects in the same directory that I am going to use it over here, right? So I had created this directory. Just a minute, let me search for it. Okay, so this is a directory in which we'll store the things. So let's say I'll give it a name demo file, okay, in AIC MLOps. So this is a directory in documents, right? So I'll do what? I'll go to that particular location. How can I go to location? I can just use over here CD, okay, and then I can use AIC, sorry, documents, okay, and then I can use over here CD AIC, okay, the directory name. What is the name of directory? Let me show you. It is AIC underscore MLOps. All right. So AIC underscore MLOps. Okay. So what is a present working directory? This one. What are my files over here? This one. Now I want to trigger demo.py. So what I do? Python 3 demo.py. So you can use your Python demo.py or Python 3.demo.py. In my system, Python 2, Python 3 both are installed. That's why I have to mention over here Python 3. Okay. In case if you're only using Python 3, then you can just use Python demo.py. That's it. Okay. Once we execute it, it will execute and show you the output over here. Right. So this is how we can trigger any Python file that we want to use. Okay. Now let's discuss about the Git. What is Git and how Git can be used? Okay. All right. So as I told you, Git will be used for version control of our version controlling system. Okay, or managing the different versions of our project. Okay, or kind of managing our project through over a cloud. Right. So let's first try to understand it. Right. So when we talk about the Git, okay, there are few things we need to know over here. Okay, Git, in the Git we create something that is called what? Repository. Okay, we create something which is called repository, right? Okay, let me just write it over here like this. Repository. Okay, repository. Now, what is repository? Okay, we can say like this: a repository. A repository is how we refer a project. Okay, version controlled by Git. Controlled by Git. Okay, so let's see what is repository. So now repository will be of two types. Okay, one is called local repository, that we call local repo, and second we call as a remote repo. Remote repo. Okay, what is local repo? Local repo will be created individually in your computer systems. In your own computer it will be created. Remote repo, here it will be created what? It will be created in a, it's remote. Just a minute, let me, okay, I hope you understand. It's a remote repo, right? It's a remote repo that will be created on a hosted on a hosting service. Okay, hosted on a hosting service, right? Now, what are the services which provides us the feature of remote repo? We can use GitHub. Okay, we can use GitLab. Okay, we can use Bitbucket. Okay, we can use code commit. Okay, so there are a lot of services are there which provides us hosting services. Okay, where you can manage your Git based project, right? So it is all about storing store the files over the cloud. Okay, so both the things we will see. Okay, we will see local as well as we will see what the global, remote, right? Now we have to set the configuration. Now, how can we set the configuration and how can we say that, okay, this is my Git repo or this is not my Git repo? All right. So these all things we have to see over here now, right? So first we can do what? We can go to our terminal. Okay. Okay, so first we are going to work with what? Local repo. All right, so for your convenience I had given this thing to you. Okay, I'll attach this particular link in the description. Here it is, the complete step-by-step things are there. How can we get started with the Git, okay, for Windows as well as for Mac? Okay, but no worry, I'll also explain these things to you one by one. All right, and then we can make use of it. All right. Okay, so what is a local repo? Local repo is will be a repo that would be created in your system. Okay, your system is having a repo that will be your local repo. So how can we identify, okay, this is a local repository? A local repository must have one file, or you can say one file that exists in your local repository. Okay, and the extension in that file will have what? .git. Okay, whenever you create a local repo, so that will have an extension over here which is what? .git. Let me just mention it over here. Okay, why it is, just a minute. Okay, so that would have a particular file mentioned which is having extension .git. Okay, how it is being created? Let's see. Suppose I have a file over here. Okay, let me remove this drawing from here, right? So I have a directory over here as I had shown you. Okay, let me just have a directory where it came. Okay, here. All right. So here, suppose I create a new folder over here. Okay. What folder should I give it to name? So let's say I'm giving it a folder name MLOps project. Okay. Now this is what? This is just a directory for me right now. I want to make it what? A local repository. Okay. So if I want to make it a local repository, what we do? We'll go to the same thing, which is our terminal. What is your present working directory? This one. How many files are there? Okay, we'll go to cd MLOps project. Okay, so when we go to MLOps project, right now, what is my present working directory? This one. Okay, now we have to do what? We have to run over here a command. Okay, the command name is over here git, okay, init. Okay, so when I run a command, it is saying what? Initialize empty git repository in the this thing, right? So now if I go to MLOps project over here, I'll open this thing once again. Okay, so this guy should have what? A file name which is called .git. Okay, but I can't see this thing because that used to be hidden. Okay, so in Windows, if it is hidden, you can go to view and can enable the hidden view hidden files. In the folder options, you get option view hidden files, right? So you'll get the hidden file. In Mac, we have to use what? Command plus shift plus dot. Okay, so when I use command plus shift plus dot, okay, what? Command plus shift plus dot, right? So here it will be visible. Now this becomes a local repository in my system. Okay, next, in the next video, we'll see how can we make use of this local repository, what are the use cases of it, right? So this was just a small kind of exercise to create a local repository. Later on, we will also work on a remote repository. Okay, and different ways of using this local repository. How can we work on a version control system and all? Everything we are going to see in the next videos. All right. Thank you, everyone.